Today's guest is Maciek Palmowski. He's a Development Advocate Analyst at Kinsta, and they help create and maintain contact with developers. He's in kind of DevRel space. Beyond work, he also hosts a coding coffee show, which is very interesting to hear about. But thank you for joining me today, Maciek.
Thanks. It's really, it took a while because you had such a long queue of other guests, and I'm really happy that at some point I saw this email, and for a second it was Jeremy Mewood. Who is he? Oh, it's him. I remember we talked like half a year ago, but yeah, I'm really thrilled that I'm finally here.
So talk a bit about where you're from and who you are and what you do then.
Okay, so we started from the Sweden-Poland thing. So yeah, I'm from Poland, and to be exact, I'm from a city called Łódź, which means boat. And this is quite funny because this boat city is in the middle of Poland, and we don't have any access to sea and anything. And we have a really horrible origin story, because long time ago, there was a fisherman who was swimming along the river, and at some point he stopped, and that's it. Sorry, okay. This is really sad, because other cities, we know, like Warsaw has mermaids, Krakow has dragons, Zawiercie has wolves, and we have a lazy fisherman. So yeah, this is kind of sad. But yeah, I'm from here, and which is a really, really amazing city, and it's quite different. It's really industrial. It always has been so. I always feel that this industrial spirit is in me. I'm quite different than like every person from which is quite different from the rest of Poland, because yeah, we started kind of evolving later. Yeah, so that's about the place where I'm from. And what was the next question?
Yeah, so I mean, what do you do today? What I know I introduced you, but talk a bit about what that is, what that work is.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I work in the developer relations space, which is a very popular term to name a lot of things. But in general, yeah, it's about having relations with developers, as horrible as it sounds when I now said it. Yeah, but in short, DevRel is really great for people who have an extensive technical background, but at some point they realize that they want to try something different, but they still want to use their skill set. And it's really great if those people have at least a bit of talent of talking with other people, which turns out I have, because I never ever thought that I will be working with people, because for most of my career I was a developer. I was a PHP. That later I concentrated mostly on WordPress. But yeah, I was a developer, and the thought of talking with others was horrible. I mean, I never thought that I would be doing something like this as a job. But at some point, yeah, surprises happen. And there's some conference, if I remember, it's WordCamp that I co-organized. One company called Buddy, they have this amazing tool for CI/CD. They realized how huge WordPress market is, and that they are looking for someone called WordPress ambassador. To be honest, I did not have a clue what this means, what I will do. Nothing. But we started discussing, because why not? And they asked me, hey, try making a plan for like 3 months. What do you think you would do during those 3 months? And you'll see, do you think that you are fit for this or not? If not, that nothing bad happened. So I decided doing this plan, and it turned out that I have a lot of ideas, but I won't be able to do them in 3 months, because I have already a plan for like half a year at least. So yeah, I started working at Buddy, and I worked there for more than a year. And at some point, because yeah, I started as this WordPress ambassador. But quickly I realized that WordPress market, while it is really huge, because it's like almost 50% of the CMS market at the moment, most of people related with WordPress aren't that interested in some more advanced practices like CI/CD, even like testing and everything. So it turned out that I had to kind of find another way for me, and I started finding some new communities, new spaces. I mean, I'm still in the WordPress community because this community is quite unique, and and they really always will have this special room in my heart because they are really amazing. And even next week I'm going to WordCamp Athens because and I really can't wait for a meeting to meet everyone. But still, I had to find also something else, some other communities that are more developer related, more developer focused. So, for example, Laravel, for example, many communities related with this modern JavaScript stacks, like with React, with Vue, and I started finding them. I started meeting new people, and at some point, I got a chance to work at Kinsta. And this is also quite interesting because it turned out with Kinsta, we were kind of on a similar path in our, let's call it, career. Because, yeah, I started as a WordPress developer and I found that, let's call it, the space is kind of too small for me. I have to grow. And Kinsta was at exactly the same place because Kinsta is one of the most renowned WordPress hosting in the community. And but they also realized that that the market isn't growing. They have to find another way if they want to grow. So they decided to launch two new products called application hosting and database hosting, which are kind of self-explanatory what they do, right? And so they also started going, they started to grow more than just WordPress. So we were on the same path. And I knew people from Kinsta. And when there was a chance that they were looking for, I always forget my official title. It was developer, something with analyst. I always tell that I'm a developer from Kinsta because I don't know this. Yeah, but yeah, and we started talking. It went really quickly, and I was like, yeah, I'm working for Kinsta, and right now we are on this path together when we still have WordPress, first of all, in our hearts, because really, if you start knowing those people from this community, they are really special. They are really special, and it's really, and WordPress will always be there. But we wanted to grow a bit bigger, a bit further. And so we are doing it right now. We are trying to find new partnerships, new people, new ways well promote our product in different developer spaces. So yeah,
That's pretty interesting. Well, let's rewind a little bit. How did you get into development at all? I mean, was that an interest you had growing up, or was it something you stumbled into? How did you find that to begin with as a career?
I can even say that it was really near beginning of my life because long time ago, during communism, my dad bought an ZX Spectrum computer.
Huh.
This very old one, and my dad was always, and he still is, because right now he's into 3D printers, and I don't have a clue about them, and he's like amazing. But still, he bought it, and he wanted to discover how it works. He also got some books, and let's be honest, in the 80s, there were like, I don't know, 3 or 4 books written in Polish. So he tried to understand it. And back then I was a very little kid, but from what I heard, because I don't remember this, I just sat at his lap. The only thing that I could do back then was just drool, so not much. But I was looking at it. And when I went to primary school, I already knew one thing, that I will be working with computers. I wasn't sure where exactly, but I knew that I will be working with computers. I will be doing something. First, I thought that I will go more into networks and servers. At some point, I even got my Cisco certificate. But from when it came to networks, the part that always interested me the most were servers and the whole internet, because it was something really amazing that, yeah, we can exchange information with anyone in the world, like in a matter of milliseconds, just like that. And yeah, and also I remember when I first discovered peer-to-peer and everything. there
Right.
was this great there was this great network called SoulSeek to exchange music, and it was also a great place to meet many friends. And this was really fascinating. That, yeah, I was sitting in Łódź, and I was talking with someone from, I don't know, Brazil or Japan, and we were talking about our favorite bands. And especially back then, it was something really remarkable. It was, we could do it, and we were still sitting at our homes or whatever. And yeah, uh, so yeah, from that point, it went quite quickly. Just at some point, I discovered things like HTML, then CSS, JavaScript, and so on, and that Internet Explorer 6 is horrible. This was also a very quick lesson for me. Yeah, but from that point, it went very quickly. Like the moment when I really understood that. I'm mostly interested about everything related to the web, about how we can exchange this knowledge, how we can do it better. And then all the other things at some point started showing out PHP. At some point, I also started learning more about CSS, about accessibility, about how to make those no downtime deployments, like everything related to this. And yeah, and here I am.
So now in Poland, do you have primary school? Do you have university after that? Did you do university? Or are you self-taught, or did you go?
Oh, I tried. I mean, I studied for so many years without any of. Yeah, I mean, at some point, because yeah, in Poland, at least back then, because it also is changing like every year, we had let's call it primary school. Another thing was called, let's call it the middle school, and after this we have university. And so I wanted to finish something related with IT. But like I said, after many years of trying, and I even created the whole practical part for my engineering work, but I never wrote the theory, and I found some interesting job before in the meantime. So but yeah, I mostly can say that I was mostly self-taught, because I remember that literally everyone at the university was looking at all those web technologies like they were the worst technologies. It wasn't C++. It wasn't
Right. Yeah, there
it
was a
wasn't
bit. I
something.
remember in that time period, there was a bit of
Yeah,
snobbishness. Yeah.
exactly. It wasn't math related. It wasn't about cryptography. But who cares? Who cares? Most people want to use internet to exchange knowledge. They don't want to, as you mentioned, focus on those kind of snobbish things, because especially from the perspective of those teachers, they thought that the things that they learned were more important, and no one really cared about the web, about PHP, about servers. I mean, servers were only the part of the network stack, and that's it. But I also thought that it was the less important part, that all the other things were more important. So yeah, we kind of never never got along.
So then
But
how
like I
did you
said, I
find,
tried for many years.
how did you find the WordPress community then?
At some point, every developer decides I will write my own CMS.
Yep.
Every developer does it. And at some point, every developer also realized that he just wasted, let's say, a year of his life.
Yeah.
And especially when, let's say, I created some module that would use a Facebook API. It was great until Facebook changed something, and then I had to update it. And it was horrible. It looked like it's impossible to keep up with this. And because it's true, it is impossible to keep up with everything that is happening all around the web if you are doing it alone.
Right.
And yeah, and then I also discovered that there is this thing called open source where people just want to share their code for free. So amazing, why not? And I remember that I started testing all the open source CMSs that were running on PHP, because PHP servers were the only one that were affordable for me back then. So I remember that WordPress kind of won thanks to two things. First was the amazing documentation, which is kind of funny because right now many people are saying a lot of bad things about the documentation because it kind of deteriorated over the years, but it's really difficult to maintain it in such a humongous project. But I know that people behind it are doing their best to make it better. So I'm sure that Milana at some point will handle it, and everything will be back to normal. And the second thing, back then I for some reason hated all the templating languages. Back then it was either Twig or I don't remember. There was one that is kind of not used anymore, but there were a few of them, and still Smarty. The other one was called Smarty, but I did not like them at all, and WordPress did not use them. So this was the second thing why I like it, and I started using it. Kind of hacking, reading how other did it, and yeah, and quite quickly I realized that there are many people who want to help you just like this, and I started discovering the community. Then I learned that there are things called WordCamps. So those are those WordPress conferences all over the world, and that there are also one every year in Poland. So yeah, I remember that my first WordCamp was in Wrocław, and I remember that one was kind of a horrible experience, but the next one in Krakow was amazing, and this was kind of the turning point when I really wanted to get closer into community, when I wanted to start also contributing, and I did. I started, and I also started traveling all over the world to other WordCamps, especially that once per year we have this WordCamp Europe. So there is also a chance to meet. Even if it's WordCamp Europe, there are really people all around the world. And I remember, especially that in Berlin, because this was the time when I was heavily helping the timber project. One guy just came to me and said, "Thank you for your help," and I was like, "But who is this guy? I don't know who he is." But luckily, a second later, he started explaining. I recognize you because your avatar is your photo, and you helped me with something on the timber, with some timber issue, and I was like, wow, so people recognize me. So the thing that we just were discussing on GitHub, those people are real. They remember that you
Right.
helped them, and so yeah, this was this another thing that really made me so made me love the whole open source community and WordPress community so much, because it's not only virtual, it's real.
Right. Well, so as you've gone through your career, what's something you've witnessed that if you had the chance to change it, right? You wish it would be done differently. Or maybe the change is too big. Maybe it's something we just need to start considering. What's something you've witnessed in your career that you wish we did differently?
This is really kind of difficult question, because sometimes when I look at many things, and but let's start with the DevRel space, because DevRel space is a really nice thing to start. And I think that the biggest problem with DevRel, and the thing that should be changed here, is that really more people should understand what DevRel is. Because we really did some mistake at some point. I don't know when it happened and how it happened, but at some point there was a lot of companies who got this lot of venture capital money, and they started hiring DevRels like crazy. Like, there are so many quite small companies having teams of, I don't know, 20, 30 DevRels, and I really can't imagine what they are doing. And this also makes it more difficult to understand what DevRels should really do, because very often, and this is the term that one of my friend very often uses, that some DevRels shouldn't be DevRels, that they are DevCels. So
Right.
this is like this typical kind of selling role in the development space. So overall, when it comes to this whole DevRel environment, we really should start teaching people more how it should look like, how it should work, and I know why it is so difficult, because we always expect to measure results, and with DevRel it's so difficult, because how to measure it? By what? By number of stars on GitHub? By the number of messages on our Discord? No, it's not it. Sometimes, because it's really weird. For me, the most important thing about DevRel, and this is kind of because everyone knows the term cold email. Yeah, it is. It's horrible. We shouldn't use it, but yeah, sometimes we all do. But thanks to having an active DevRel department, each email from your company won't be that cold. It will be a bit warm, because people will recognize you. They will remember that, yeah, there is this company, Kinsta. I remember this guy on Twitter. He was posting something interesting about how to integrate, let's say, StateMake with Astro. So I kind of remember this company and this guy. Yeah, maybe I will respond. And on the other hand, sadly, there are many companies that are pushing for more of this selling part, measuring, because yeah, selling is very easy to measure. So I kind of also understand why it is happening. And also, if you have a team of 20 people for one product doing DevRel, I really don't know what you can do with so many people.
So that's it. I mean, it's interesting. So I work in a space where I interact with a lot of product companies, and I have friends who work for product companies. And you're right. There's this kind of interesting challenge where companies bring on DevRel because they see long-term possibilities that'll help sales. But if they bring them on only to be within the marketing and sales team, then they've used them wrong. I completely agree with you, right? It should be almost like an underground movement, right? You go to conferences and speak, you go to user groups and share. You're like you said, you're in a Discord community, you're online, and I notice you have newsletters that you put out, right? And you're providing helpful information without trying to say, go buy my product. But because you're so helpful, your product becomes more interesting.
Exactly. And I also really understand why it is so difficult for many owners to understand, because it really requires sometimes a lot of time.
Yeah.
And there is no something that there is no possibility that they will hire a DevRel and after, I don't know, month or two, there will be visible results. I mean, there is sometimes a chance because maybe sometimes when something went viral or something, but let's be honest, it's a very long-term thing. DevRel is, and still, and this was also the thing that you mentioned that yeah, it's sometimes it's not that visible. It's not that visible, but people are connecting the dots, and that's the thing. And or sometimes they will find your repository, or they will find something on your newsletter, or they will be just happy that you shared their article on your newsletter. You never know how this connection will happen. I very often like to think about DevRel as this huge web of connections, but you never know when which point will connect with which. And but thanks to the fact that you have more and more of them, there's a bigger chance that there will be some interaction that that you are trying to get. And at some point after 2 or 3 years, it turns out that yeah, you have, maybe not by accident, but thanks to these long-term practices, you get some huge contract because someone who you knew that knew someone else, and
Yep.
yeah, all this connects the dots. Yeah, I remember at Bali we had this case that after 6 months from webinar we did, someone asked the company with which we had this webinar, hey, about this body thing, can we contact them? Do you think they are trustful? Yes, they are. Just contact them. They're really great. And we really had a really nice contract from this one webinar. But it took really 6 months of
Yeah.
doing nothing in between. I mean, we were just doing other stuff, but this was just this webinar that was sitting on YouTube, and at some point it clicked.
I think it's an important point, right? That you, as DevRel, you're building trust, right? That's your
Yes.
currency. Is people go, oh, I've seen him. He's helped people. He works for this company. Oh, that company has a product that we were considering as one of our options. And now that I have this trust in this individual, I'm more likely to get the product from that place. And I think that's the real power. But you're right. I agree with you completely that, especially in the startup mentality world, there's I think a misconception on when they bring DevRel in. And startup, we'll pick on startups, right? Because they need to make money quick. They need to prove value quick. And so I think they push a little harder than maybe another place. And so but unfortunately they're using the same term to describe their staff. So it kind of clouds things.
But on the other hand, that you mentioned that trust. It's also, and this sometimes can be difficult for companies that and that we as DevRels also have to be very careful, even if we are promoting our own company, not to oversell. And sometimes I am even kind of afraid that, yeah, maybe I should promote my company a bit more. But yeah, I only have one name and I have to be careful with it. I can't oversell. I have to be seen as you mentioned, as trustful, so that people will trust me. So every time when I am saying that, hey, use this product, use this hosting, or that, yeah, Kinsta just released the new product and I really think that it's really amazing. It's not that I'm saying this because they pay me for it, but because I really believe in it.
Right.
And I was always because I worked at one company that I had a real problem with trusting their products. I mean, I saw the code because I wrote part of it and I saw how it looked like. And so every time when someone asked me privately, hey, would you recommend this plugin from this company? And I was like, no, never. because I knew how it looked like. But this also learned me that I don't want to work at such a company anymore. I want to always feel that I work at the company which product I know from, and I'm proud of this product.
Yeah.
That's why I work at Buddy, because I used Buddy for many, many years before they hired me. The same goes with Kinsta. I used their products for many, many years before they hired me. So every time when now I say, yeah, go and use Kinsta if you need either WordPress hosting or this application hosting on database, whatever. And it's not because they are paying me, but it's because I used it before and I know they are trustful. And yeah, I really believe in it. Like I said, I once did not believe in the product, and it was like really the worst year of my life because you feel like you are cheating everyone.
Right. So what's coming up next for you? Is anything new in your workspace or in your podcast?
So first of all, yeah, I'm constantly trying to be a speaker somewhere. Like literally yesterday, I fill out the form for Armada.js about headless CMSs. I have this talk about headless CMSs, and I really hope that maybe I will be going to this Novi Sad later this year. Who knows? So yeah, I'm really trying to speak at more events because yeah, this is the perfect place to meet new people and also to see new places because well, it's fun.
Right.
Yeah, and regarding the podcast, I mean, right now I am doing a small break after the next episode, but I'm already thinking about some new guests. But overall, let's say so the season one has ended almost, and I want to kind of rethink some small things about what I can change. But in general, yeah, it's just about finding new people, new topics. The general idea will still be similar. I have so many interesting people on my radar that I really can't wait to start sending some invites. So just fingers crossed that they will agree. But what is interesting, they mostly do. They mostly do, and it's sometimes really remarkable. I still can't believe. At some point, I had the chance to meet Cassidy Williams, and I just asked her about can we do something together. I won't lie. I was sure that she will respond with okay, I won't lie. I was sure that she won't respond at all because why should she? And she did. She did respond. We did something together once, twice. We are very often exchanging emails, and she's a really lovely person. And this was also kind of the boost for me that I learned that yeah, we are IT. We are so open. The hardest part sometimes is to just find the email so you can write to someone. But if you have it, give it a try. Or if you don't, maybe you will have a chance at some conference to meet that person. If so, just go there and ask because those are just people. They are very happy to help you. Like last week I was at Code Europe, a very interesting conference, very quite a few interesting talks, and I found 2 or 3 people that I really would like to have on my show. And yeah, I just came by, asked about it, and guess what? I have three speakers in queue already. So
That's fantastic. Well, it's been great having this conversation with you, learning a bit about you, and hearing about your journey. So, thank you so much for coming on my podcast.
thank you so much for having me. It was really amazing meeting you.